a musician. Harmony comes to mind when I hear one note that blends with another note in sync. That involves two notes that are not the same, but they blend with timing. I consider myself as a note that wants to blend with a different note and with the right timing. I also believe in the concept of nature abhors a vacuum. I like to vacuum as often as possible. Here is an example. Years ago, I took a leadership training, and one of their recommendations was to leave a room cleaner and neater than you entered it. It was a way of contributing in a significant way without necessarily being noticed. I got into the habit of leaving public restrooms so much cleaner than I had entered them. People would wonder why I was taking so long in there. Well, congenially, of course, they were saying that. But one time, on my frequent walks around town, I wanted to buy something at a specialty grocery store. I needed to use the restroom first. As I approached the door, a store attendant was about to enter to service the restroom. Since I was a bit desperate, he let me head on in, and he would come back after I had completely completed my intention. Knowing my nature, I could not leave the room until I picked up all the papers on the floor, dried up the soap foam from under the dispenser, and wiped the sink down. When I left to do my shopping in the store, the bathroom attendant approached me with a bouquet of flowers and said, "Thank you." That was an unintentional degree of harmony, but it demonstrated to me how giving creates a vacuum that must be filled with, in this case, a bouquet of flowers. What that may translate to is doing something considerate out of grace without expecting anything in return. This sets one up for an unintended reward, a reward that results in harmony. Saturday, when I went for my grocery walk, I began my jaunt on the railroad track, through the trees, the bushes, the rocks, and the streams. As I approached a couple standing on the ties of the railroad track, I noticed they were waiting for their dog to finish smelling the nearby plants. It was a leisurely afternoon, and as I quickly approached them, I caught the eye of the wife. I reminded both that, "Hey, tonight is our switch to daylight savings time." Ha! They smiled immediately. And she said, "Oh, of course, I almost forgot." They both laughed, and I thanked, and then they thanked me for reminding them. For the rest of my round trip shopping adventure, I saw several more people. The men and women I encountered, some in pairs, some as individuals, had varying remembrances of the annual daylight savings time conversion. Most of them, however, were glad that I had reminded them, because Sunday timing can be a bit delicate if one is not prepared with a plan. These were examples of random interactions that put a smile on my face as well as theirs. These were examples of what I call harmony quest, seeking connection in a meaningful way that puts a smile on my face and theirs. What I have noticed is that acknowledging the presence of another, even if strangers, acknowledges myself as well. Two notes that are different but in harmony because both members are aligned with timing. Sometimes the harmony shows up from a completely different instrument. Our harmony quest experiences were practiced regularly when I worked in sales. I spent so many hours a day driving in traffic, and I learned that the best way for me to deal with traffic and minimize problems was to let other drivers win. If they wanted to change lanes, I learned to just treat other drivers with unexpected patience. I continued to make allowances for interruptions with the flow of traffic and uphold unwarranted grace. These manners of perspective were my way of creating a vacuum, the vacuum that must be abhorred by nature, human nature, and the rewards would show up in the most amazing ways. My harmony quest allowed me to play my chosen note, and their response became the alignment that worked for both of us at the time to harmonize. How would you design your harmony quest?